am compelled by Schlock.
For those about to schlock, we salute you. I am Darby Ellis Lewis Wilson. This is Chris Anonymous, and we are hosts for your hosts. We're your hosts, not our hosts. We're your hosts for tonight's show. We are talking about the hidden gem from the early 90s, Highway to Hell. Not the song, the movie. And we actually have a ton of stuff to talk about tonight. So we're going to rapid fire through here. Chris, I hope you're doing good. We were talking before the show, so we know we got a lot to get through. What we do is we give a short intro. We talk about what's good about the movie, what's bad about the movie, what's schlocky about the movie. And that's where we kind of ruminate on all of the big ideas and things about the movie. I'm going to jump right in really quick with this movie. Like I said, came out in the early 90s. It came out in 1991, and I think it was officially released in the U.S. in 1992, but it was filmed in 1989. So
is it an 80s movie or a 90s movie?
Well, there are some things that seem very 80s about it. There's some things that seem very 90s about it. However, and I might be stealing some of your thunder here for the Web of Schlock, where we connect all of the actors and actresses and people that worked on the movie. Mm-hmm. But so the person who wrote this movie is Brian Helgeland.
Yeah, we're going to get into him.
So I will say, I think that this is probably maybe his very first movie that he wrote, because
it's not, but it's close. You're going to like what's before this.
So he wrote A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, and that was released in 88. And so if Highway to Hell was being filmed in 1989, and we know that it potentially takes a while to write a script and to get it sold, potentially
all that. So he could have wrote it first.
He could have written it prior to Nightmare 4. So anyway, that's my trivia on it. The movie costs about $9 million to make, and it only made $26,000 worldwide. This movie
is a shame.
Did not get a
no love.
Big release. It did well. I think it had some trouble. One with the name. Just being able to get released on time. And so I think it only got released in maybe like 8 movie theaters or something like that. So that's why it has such a small gross. And then it kind of went underground and eventually got a home video release. And I think that they had to like double it up with The Terminator or something like that. They had to do like a double feature release for anyone to even see it. So let's the Web of Schlock. Very interesting. Tell us about it.
You've already touched on it. So, and I want to get back to that, but we'll just rapid fire through these others. Chad Lowe, bunch of TV, bunch of different things. I remembered him. He looked really familiar. I remember him from an early 90s sitcom called Life Goes On. But not a lot of schlock. Christy Swanson, the original Buffy, right?
Buffy. We've done Buffy the Vampire Slayer on this show. Glad to see her again. She did it right after this movie, I believe.
Yep. I want to give a shout out to Kevin Peter Hall. He played Karen, the blind man who takes people across the river Styx. He was the Predator in Predator 1 and Predator 2.
Yeah, that's right.
He passed away shortly after all that, which was very sad, but he was awesome. Really smart.
Probably because he was like 7 feet tall.
It is not. It's a sad story, but for another time.
Let's keep it lighthearted here. We are talking about hell.
We're going next to the director. I don't know how to say his name, so 8 de Jong. He is from the Netherlands. A lot of foreign films. He did an episode of Miami Vice. He did a movie after this, but came out before this because it came out in 91 called Drop Dead Fred. Do you remember that at all?
I do remember Drop Dead Fred. Not well, but I remember people saying, oh, it's a great movie, very funny. And I remember
Weird
watching
concept.
it thinking it was very depressing, but I don't remember the story at all.
All right. Well, it's basically like an imaginary friend comes back later in life to torment her, is what I recall. But
yeah,
that's the only other thing there. But so we're done with Schlock, with the web of Schlock, except for Brian Helgeland. Man, this dude is
a powerhouse.
So Nightmare on Elm Street 4, 976 Evil, this, but then he goes on to win the Academy Award for Best Screenplay for LA Confidential. He also wrote Conspiracy Theory, The Postman. He wrote and directed Payback, wrote and directed A Knight's Tale. He did
some
Man
of
on
my
Fire.
favorite movies. I mean,
he has made like amazing like genre movies and like amazing like award-winning like really good movies, and he's found a way to like bridge the two. Like he is just a BA writer, like just cool dude. He holds, I don't know how many people hold this, but what's really cool is he won the Academy Award for LA Confidential, and the same year he won the Razzies for Worst Screenplay for The Postman. I don't know how many people on Earth.
The Postman.
Well, I love it too, but I don't know how many people on Earth, and he like was even pumped about it, have won in the same year a Razzie for the Worst Screenplay and the Oscar for the Best Screenplay. Like that's just like, I don't want an EGOT. Who cares about that?
What a range.
You want the Academy Award for Best Screenplay and the Razzie for Worst Screenplay same year. That's the goal.
You want an ERGOT.
Yep.
ERGOT. Put a Razzie in there.
Yeah. We put the Razzie in there. Yeah. So that's it. Let's jump into it, man. That dude's awesome.
So I have been notified. I would be remiss to say that Sam
yes. Yeah, no,
was Matthew
Cuthbert from Anne of Green Gables. Yeah. He was he was also in Misery. Yeah, Richard Farnsworth is his name, and he is one of my favorite actors of all time. I loved him in Anne of Green Gables. Loved him in Misery. David Lynch directed a movie for Disney called A Straight Story back in the early 2000s, where it's him and he goes across the country on on a lawnmower, or not a lawnmower, but a tractor. Yeah, it's awesome. Like, no, he's one of my. I
like the lawnmower.
I just love when he just has a presence about him. Like, whenever he shows up in a movie, it's just like there's something reassuring about it. He gives the same vibe as like Peter Falk in Princess Bride, just that kind of nice grandfatherly, just, I don't know, just put you at ease when you watch something like that in a film.
Fair. I'm gonna put a downer on him maybe a little bit later, but
okay.
But I do agree with the presence like that. I 100%. So before we get into our good, bad, and schlock, remember, wherever you're watching, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know that you're here, you're around. Join in the conversation with us so that we can hear what you think about it. So I'm going to start off our good. Very first good. We've talked about the people in this movie, the cameos. I guess originally this movie, they wanted it to be full of comedians. But unfortunately, due to the small budget, they could only afford Gilbert Gottfried's
entire family
and the Stillers, who at the time, Ben Stiller was very unknown. I guess he ad-libbed all of his lines as the cook. Here we see him as Attila the Hun. The cook. But the cook, and I guess the director didn't think that he was very funny and that he didn't have much of a career ahead of him. Little did we know that he was wrong.
He was wrong. Yeah, and Godfrey, that he wasn't playing Hitler, he was playing Bob.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know.
Bob.
I didn't get it. I thought it was funny. I am a 19-year-old boy. I like to play the air guitar. Yes.
My name is Bob. Yeah, yeah, I love the cameos
so weird.
in this. Love the cameos.
And that is what is so great about this movie is that I had to look this up. It's a farce. It is so farcical. It is so absurd and weird.
Yep.
And
Yep.
there's just quirkiness all around.
Right. From, if we pull up the postcard intro, I mean, right from the intro, you're not watching a normal movie. Like, this is just such a cool way to like start a movie. I mean, it's so simple. And then they just keep doing all the different things, and like the backgrounds change, and smart, economical, fun, and it sets the right tone, I think, for the film.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you.
Wow. Okay.
In bad, but
okay.
Yeah. What else? What else do you have that's good?
Well, I didn't bring up Sam in the Web of Schlock, because I was going to bring Richard Farnsworth into the good, because he's just one of my favorite actors of all time, and I could just watch him do anything. But I already touched on that. So my only other good is all the comic touches and little bits and Easter eggs. And farcical was the right word. But I mean, we can pull up the bumper sticker.
Solid laugh.
Solid
laugh out of me.
And there was no reason to have a laugh here. Like, they're going down. We see all the bugs racing. You didn't have to pan over to this, right? You didn't have to have this joke, but it's there. And like, I think if you were to watch this movie 2 or 3 times, you would still be finding more hilarious Easter eggs. Like, that is so funny. Like,
right.
Yeah. And like, I don't know if there's the writer, the director, a producer, someone on set, like someone came up with that, and they're like, yeah. So that's my main. That's the good, is like this. There's a lot of bad things about the movie, but so much of it is forgiven because of just all the farcical little hilarious comic touches and Easter eggs.
Right. And so my last good, my biggest good, and we were talking about this a little bit before. We're trying to figure out what does this movie remind me of. I feel like there is maybe another movie out there that exists that has the same plot and a similar vibe, but I can't think of what it is. However, there are a lot of other things that this movie reminds me of, things that came after this movie, so potentially very influential, and things that came prior to this movie. For instance, it is reminding me of Jesus Christ Superstar, just the set in the background, maybe some of this music in it. Ridley Scott's Legend. That's a very similar tale. A woman is stolen by darkness, right? The devil. A guy has to go back and retrieve her, and I think she is semi seduced by the devil, and she kind of doesn't want to leave, or she's tricking him or something like that. So similar vibe. In a similar story structure, maybe in a way, but totally different vibe.
I think part of that vibe is just the classic underlying mythology of Orpheus and Eurydice, right? Like, just that idea of you, for some reason or other, the love of your life is dragged to hell, and you go after her.
You got to rescue her.
You have to rescue her. And we were talking a little before about how that's such an epic trope, and there's so many great things. And there's a lot of, this movie does not do that mythology justice. It basically winks at it, which is fine, because I'll still take that story. It's still the basic, going to hell to retrieve the one you love. Like, what such a big sacrifice. A lot of great movies. Black Orpheus is amazing. Cocteau's Orpheus, a lot of like classic, really good movies take this tale, but then you can do something like this, which is just silly and fun. The other thing that it kind of reminded me of that I wanted to bring up, and this is a question, is this before or after? Because this also came out in 91, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Yeah.
The idea of hell as kind of this, like, Arizona desert, right?
Or like a quirky place, like it is scary, but like also
it's also quirky.
It's just odd,
right? So this was filmed probably before that, but then it would have had the U.S. release after. But it reminded me a lot of Bogus Journey.
Right. Well, so the movies I'm thinking of that came after it is Six String Samurai.
Totally.
Mostly because of the background of it, but the quirky characters that he meets along the way, like the people that he meets in his post-apocalyptic world seem like the same denizens of hell in this movie. And I gotta see a connection there. Let's see, Risk Cutters, that came out late 2000s, I think, where I can't remember if it's people that commit suicide, and I can't remember if they go to purgatory or hell, but it's like the world that they left. It's like their actual lives, but it's just a little bit worse. It's a little bit crappier. Everything like just sucks a little bit more. Even parts
of like Beetlejuice, with the quirky underworld, right?
Right.
So there's lots of things that you can draw parallels to before and after. It like almost takes place, and I think that's why it feels so familiar, is that it just touches on all these different things.
Yeah. So, what do you have that's bad about this movie?
Well, I think some of the structure deviates in a way that just doesn't work for the story. Like you have such a through line: go to hell, get the girl, get out, right? And part of it's wandering around, meeting all these quirky characters, and I'm okay with that. But and I like the idea of like upping the stakes for a race at the end. I mean, I like that, but I don't think they executed that idea properly. So I really like the idea of the third act. I don't like the execution. Right. The Royce subplot I had a problem with because I either wanted less of it or I wanted more of it.
Well, and so here's where we get to my number one bad thing is that subplot and backstory. There's a lot going on in the background of this that we don't get really hardly any info about it. Royce and Adam, I think they're like the Antichrist, maybe.
I believe they were like potential Antichrists who disappointed him, and so they're just stuck in hell.
Right. But there's that story. There's and I think the main story with our main characters, why are they eloping? Like, why is that illegal? I assume they're underage.
I assume they're both 17. Yeah.
What their wants and desires are. So apparently, Charlie wants to design video games, or he has an interest in that.
Right.
But the only time we ever even see a video game is at the very beginning when the highway patrolman or the cop or whatever is playing a video game titled Highway to Hell. And yeah, surely here we could have had Charlie say something like, "Man, I wish I would have made that game."
Right.
Or something like that.
This is a 80s, I don't know, trope's probably too strong of a word, but I love, and they had it in Stranger Things, the season 2, I believe, but I love people playing video games in restaurants. Like,
totally.
Yeah. And then like, if
I love to play video games in restaurants.
Yeah. And I missed that. I remember doing that a lot, but yeah, so I love that intro, but yeah, he could have set that up. And, they also could have said, "Did you pack my violin?" "Oh, I didn't have time. I'm sorry."
Exactly.
Right. Because we had no idea that she wanted to be a violinist until he's confronting,
but at the
Satan
very least,
or Hades or whoever.
Well, they found a way to put that in while she's watching the TV in the back of the car, which, I mean,
right.
Did they have that in the 80s? I mean, I don't know, but she's watching and she's seeing like, here's what your life could be. You're going to like make pizzas and put out babies, or you could be a famous
violinist, right. Which
at least they put that in there, even though it's like 2/3 of the way through the movie. And I told you that I didn't like the intro with the postcard, not because I didn't like it. It's because I didn't like the end where they basically hand you the script and say, "We don't have enough money. Just read the script." And
right.
So, yeah, that's where they.
Yeah. And They could have this is the worst for two reasons. One, I'd be okay with it if it was less, and if they showed that that turnaround thing like this, and then they pause on their face and they say Charlie went on to invent the blah blah blah, right?
Exactly. But you
still have to have
thing.
It's a very 80s thing, and I do love that, but you have that tacks on after a semi-proper ending, and that's usually secondary characters are way down the road. But this is weird. It's like this weird shot of the devil in the desert, like just watching. I'm like,
this weird 90s song.
It's like not your ending shot. You should have cut back to the kids, maybe taking little Adam to play video games and have a burger and at Sam's place, right?
I want to see Sam. Poor Sam.
I want to see what happens to Sam. So this is kind of a pet peeve, but my big bad is that the song Highway to Hell's not in it.
Brother, you're reading my mind. You are reading my mind. They, of course, could not afford to get the rights to the song,
right?
Which is fine. Change the name.
Change the name. Or cut out one of those weird, the Jimmy Hoffa huge place in the desert. Funny. Mm-hmm. You could have done that at a much lower scale and take all that money for all that and try and talk them into getting the rights to that song.
Yeah. I was disappointed kind of overall with the music in this.
I was disappointed with the music.
Having gone back and sort of rewatched it a little bit, it is growing on me, and it kind of contributes to that fun
80s
quirkiness.
Synth parts that I really like, but I wish they either would have went classic rock, and they could have just got cheap bands that were nobodies that still had the same vibe as they have Lita Ford in it from the Runaways, who was with Joan Jett, right? She's in it, but there's no song that she wrote for it. What?
Right. But the weird 90s song at the end, that I believe that song is for this movie. You can't, because I was trying to look at the lyrics to it, which it's about like an abusive relationship. So it's actually about the devil and Chrissy Swanson. But that song was made for this movie. You can't find it anywhere else. So I don't know. The music in the movie was just odd. I saw the Tangerine Dream did some music for it, which I think is funny because it reminds me of Legend. Yeah.
Well,
so odd.
I love 80s movies with Tangerine Dream scores. There are several that I can name. Mm-hmm. The Keep, which is a quirky horror movie. That's awesome. Legend, but more of it. If you can't get the classic rock, then get more 80s, get more of the Tangerine Dream score and play into it. Get more of that synth pop kind of fun where they play little snippets, but it was never epic enough for me. That's the problem with the music.
Right.
I didn't mind the slightly weird, quirky 80s way they were going with it because they couldn't get Highway to Hell, but then double down on that, right? Yeah, make it more epic because it's so much of that 80s music. It's so cheesy and epic, and I love it, and it would have been perfect in this movie. But we wanted to get
if you're watching the credits, they run out of music before the credits are over, kind of a ways. And I just thought that was hilarious. I'm like, the music in this movie is just letting me down. Did you hear that motorcycle go by?
Yeah.
Okay, man.
Well, our whole goal was to rush through the good and the bad, so we could just talk about the schlock. And
let's slow down. And take
running out of time.
Take in this movie.
Got this. Okay, so let's pull up the Gates of Hell. That picture. Man, it's the light board that says, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." Mm-hmm. Just so many in jokes from classic mythology, Christianity, classic literature, the Inferno, Paradise Lost. Just so many great little moments.
So this is something that we were kind of starting to talk about before the show came on, and I was like, save it. So of course, abandon hope, all ye who enter here. This is from Dante's Inferno. And this was kind of a problem that I had, is that I wished that more of that stuff would have bbeen toward the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, I agree.
we talked about the abandoned highway called, I think, Black Canyon Road or Black Canyon Highway. And it should have been called something like Dante's Pass, maybe. But Abandoned Hope, the Abandon All Hope thing.
Yeah. My
problem with that was that it is like before the city of hell, where in Dante's Inferno, that's the inscription before you even enter hell. It's in Antahell, I believe.
Right. So I love the fact that they put it in the movie, but I completely agree with you. It should have been on like that billboard when he like is driving between the two Joshua trees.
Right. Exactly. However, so I was just thinking about this. So Beelzebub, the devil, he says that this is like one layer of many, that there's like all these potentially different places of hell. And in Dante's Inferno, the very top of hell is for the righteous pagans. So it's like, it's not exactly hell. Like, it's not where people are like just tortured and just in internal torment. They just maybe live in kind of a crappier version of the world. And so it is kind of odd that he goes into hell, right? That the worst place that should exist in any sort of religion or mythology or story, where people should just be suffering nonstop. But instead of that, it's just kind of this really quirky place. So perhaps is he in Antahell? Is he in the first level of hell?
I think that even though it's hell, that this parallels a lot more with Hades and Greek mythology than Christianity.
Right. They're more like shades instead of the damned.
Right. And then, there's the river Styx, there's Karen, there's Cerberus, man. You got to get that picture up.
The stop motion Cerberus.
Yeah, that is amazing. Now, here's what's really cool. They gave the dog sidekick something to do. Like, how many movies have that? Like, it's just a tag along, right? Like, it's also a very 80s thing to have like a little kid hang out with you or a dog hang out with you. But then he actually does something that moves the plot forward. He helps him get past Cerberus, which
I love that he's like, meet me back at the car. Like, so that they put that dog in the movie for two reasons: to be cute and get Adam interested, and to be cute, and to do that one thing with Cerberus to distract him. And then they're like, all right, get out of the movie. Just go back to the car and wait for us. Is that a Cerberus?
That's a Cerberus.
Cerberus stuffy. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, little hound of hell.
Yeah. He's my little buddy to hang out for the rest of the show.
Oh, so I have a theory about this movie. It's not my theory. It's my girlfriend's. Is this movie about premarital sex?
There's a huge argument for that because of the road to nowhere. That whole sequence very much is, you can be deceived and choosing people. And that whole sequence where he looks in the mirror and then he has to fight the weird, unsexy devil woman. That reminded me of like Evil Dead almost there.
Yeah. Well, and it also reminded me of Legend when he meets the witch. That's I think very vain.
Yes.
But so I think the answer here is yes and no. It's about premarital sex for Charlie's character, because the two characters, they have to decide between like kind of what it is that they want and what it is like or their love, right? So our main girl Rachel, she has to decide between marrying Charlie or becoming a famous violinist. He has to choose between marrying Rachel or potentially just being able to get her in the sack prior to marriage. Like that's his want and that's his temptation, right? Is he going to have sex with her, or is he going to do the hard work and go rescue her and have a relationship?
It's interesting because they have that scene where they pull over and he tries to sleep with her and she's like, no, I don't want it this way.
Yeah. And she says she wants it in like a nice bed. And then he goes and the demon lady is in a nice bed. And then, but it's also weird because it's not like he's saying, no, I want to wait. He's just like, this is weird. We need to get out of here. Yeah, we're like on this abandoned highway where we could be murdered at any moment.
Yeah, no, this is you're in this creepy room and we're in hell and I'm trying to rescue you and we can have sex after I rescue you. Right. Yeah. So it doesn't feel like it's an earned arc or anything like that, like the choice. It's like for that to really work, you would have needed something like he thought he was already out of hell or something.
Yeah, like he's just completely tricked.
Yeah, right. Let's see what other things.
I will throw out though. Chad Lowe is a terrible kisser. I tried to get a screenshot of this, but I couldn't get it. It was too last minute. But
I mean,
that man kisses like that. Like I found much enjoyment watching him try to kiss another human being. Just got to throw that out there.
Well, and there's just so many small moments that I wanted to get screenshots of, but I'm like, there's too much. Like when he first gets into Hell City, which doesn't seem like a city, but more like a big like building. Like it feels like it's all interior,
like a corporate building or something.
Yeah. But when he goes in there, there's a shot of him walking in, but it's behind a glass box that contains an apple with a bite in it, which I assume is Adam's apple.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's just little things like that there was no reason for it to be there.
Tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah, just fun little Easter eggs. That's all there is. Just a lot of biblical and Greek mythology Easter eggs. And there was cool shots in here too, like when he pulls up to that donut shop and like it's through the eye of the donut.
The eye of the donut.
We're in the eye of the donut now.
So a lot of these things, I think I had a picture of it. I keep calling them manacles, but they're handcuffs. They're handcuffs.
They're literally handcuffs. He doesn't use them very well.
It's right. So getting into this, I didn't know what this movie was, but this was the shot where I was like, okay, this movie is going to be something cool. It's going to be something special. They're moving and they look like claymation, but they're actually like actual animatronic handcuffs.
That's awesome.
I think they cost like $15,000 or something like that. They're
really?
The most expensive prop on the set.
Love them, but we could have just, actually had the AC/DC song instead.
Right. Exactly. Would have rather taken that. But so while I love all of the Easter eggs, while I love all that kind of quirky stuff, I will say that I didn't like all of the hell puns. There were too many hell puns.
There were a lot of hell puns.
It should be a drinking game, and you'd be dead by the end. However, he like the devil offers Charlie a football team. I can't remember which one.
But it was not the 49ers because that's the one he has.
He puts on his 49ers.
I might have considered it.
But instead, go to hell or whatever.
Right.
And like that was the spot for the hell pun. However, since they said it like 1,000 times prior, it just didn't.
And you could have done hell puns that were not hell puns, like naming the donut shop Pluto's, right?
Right.
Got it
exactly.
Like you can do tons of hell puns that just aren't like hell.
Right. And had they saved that for that moment and then kicked in AC/DC's Highway to Hell? Oh man. And it would have made more than $26,000. I can tell you that.
Yeah. And when she flips the switch to have like the the turbo kick in. Yeah, that's where Highway to Hell should have. We should just recut the movie with just putting that song in right there.
Let's do it. 1,000 times better. So that is all the time that we have for this week. I get to pick the movie coming up, and I'm picking Steel Dawn. There are many Mad Max ripoffs, but this is the only one with Patrick Swayze in it. So Steel Dawn next week. I am Darby Ellis Lewis Wilson.
I'm Chris Anonymous. This is Cerberus.
That's Cerberus. We all have been compelled by Schlock. We'll see you next week, guys.
Schlockity schlock. Schlock. Schlocky schlock schlock. 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 Schlocky schlock.